Today I'm going to be getting the Platinum Trophy for Mafia Definitive Edition. Mafia Definitive Edition has 44 trophies. The trophy guide states 6 out of 10 difficulty and around 25 hours to the Platinum. During this playthrough I will be playing on the Classic difficulty, which is actually the hardest difficulty. I will also be picking up any collectibles I find along the way. Our story begins with a tense conversation between Tommy Angelo and Detective Norman. Tommy offers to give information on the Salieri crime family in exchange for protection for himself and his family. We will see how Tommy's story unfolds through flashbacks.
I mostly drove nights because the money was better. It was at the end of one of those shifts when I first met Polly and Sam.
Get up, Polly! There's a taxi here! We'll be okay! Move it! Come on!
Where to?
Anywhere. Fast!
After a short car chase through the city, Tommy drops Sam and Polly off at Salieri's bar. After helping Polly into the bar, Sam then returns to the cab with an envelope full of cash for Tommy. He also offers Tommy some work if he's interested.
When I opened the envelope, I could have had a heart attack. Enough to fix the cab. Nearly enough to buy a new one. I thought about what Sam said about work. I wasn't interested. The money was good, sure, but I didn't want to get in with criminals. Better to be poor and alive than rich and dead. So, right there, back then, I was out.
Two of Morello's men turn up to attack Tommy. Tommy runs for his life and makes his way to Salieri's bar, where he meets with Sam and Polly. They save him from his attackers and then bring him inside to see Don Salieri. This is where we get our next trophy. During his first meeting with Don Salieri, Tommy is sent off to destroy Don Morello's cars. Tommy and Polly make their way to the parking lot with Molotov cocktails to destroy the vehicles. After destroying the vehicles, Tommy and Polly are chased by Morello's men. They make their way back to Salieri's bar, where Tommy is welcomed into the Salieri crime family. It's at this point we get our next trophy in this video. Chapter 4 sees Tommy, Sam and Polly head out on a job to collect protection money from local businesses. While collecting protection money from a motel, Tommy is standing outside waiting for Sam and Polly when he suddenly hears gunshots.
Tommy! I took one! Jesus Christ, Polly!
Tell Salieri from here on out this place is ours. Capiche? And don't come back, or you'll end up in worse shape than your friends.
Tommy forces his way inside the motel to save Sam from Morello's men. After saving Sam, one of Morello's men runs off with the money, so Tommy chases after him to get the money back. This is where we earn ourselves another trophy for completing the chapter.
That was when I saw the cost. What it meant to be on the inside. I should have took off there and then. But I couldn't go back to being a nobody.
In Chapter 5, Tommy is tasked with sabotaging a rival's race car. Salieri's driver is injured, so Tommy has to step in and win the race for him. This is the part of the Platinum grind that makes most people quit, because it's near enough impossible to win this race on Classic difficulty. I have far too many failed attempts, more than I would like to admit, but even after trying a glitch, I was even too bad for the glitch, so it didn't even work. But I got called out on my stream for using the glitch, so I actually ended up going back, trying again, and I finally got it. Thank God. That was so stressful. At this point I got myself the only missable trophy, which is for dropping Polly off at the gentleman's club instead of at his house. Right after that I got myself the trophy for completing Chapter 5. In Chapter 5, Tommy is asked to walk Sarah home to her apartment. On the way to Sarah's apartment, they end up getting attacked by some thugs. After Tommy beats the guys up, they make their way back to Sarah's apartment. Once Tommy and Sarah arrive back at her apartment, I end up getting myself this next trophy for completing Chapter 6. In Chapter 7, Tommy catches up with the thugs from the night before. This is when he beats them up for what they did to Sarah. After chasing the thugs through the warehouse and fighting off some of their goons, they try to escape, but Tommy and Polly are close behind. The car chase ends with the two thugs crashing their car, so of course this means that Tommy and Polly can catch up with them. Polly asks Tommy to shoot the two thugs to make sure that they're dead, but of course Tommy can't do that, so Polly takes the job on and does it himself. And of course, with that being the end of this chapter, we get ourselves yet another trophy. In Chapter 8, we have a meeting with Don Salieri where he informs Tommy and Polly that one of the thugs didn't die.
2 in the head, Paulie. If you're gonna do a job, do it right.
He made it? Yes.
Tommy is tasked with going to the brothel next to the church where the funeral is being held. After teaching the manager a lesson for moving over to Morello's side, Tommy plants a bomb in his office. Once the cops arrive, Tommy makes his escape across the rooftops and makes his way inside the church where the funeral has been held. Sam is already inside the church as it was his job to assassinate the survivor. He makes a run for it and Tommy has to chase him throughout the church. This is when Sam comes in and finishes the job. After a short police chase, Tommy and Sam make their way back to Salieri's bar. This is when I get my next trophy. In Chapter 9, Tommy, Sam and Polly are sent to retrieve Canadian whiskey from some bootleggers. Tommy and Polly make their way out to the countryside to meet up with Sam, who's gone ahead. When they arrive at their destination, they realise that something must be wrong because it is eerily quiet. They quickly realise that the bootleggers that they're there to meet have been killed.
Jesus. Drop your weapon. You first. We don't have time for this. Sorry, pal. Guess we're doing this the hard way.
Okay then.
After having a massive gunfight with the cops, we make our way into this barn and we find that Sam has been shot. Once we save Sam, we have to make our way back to the city whilst being chased by the cops. After making it back to the city, Tommy heads over to Sarah's apartment where he asks her to marry him. This is also when we earn our next trophy. In this next chapter, Don Salieri starts to suspect that his right-hand man, Frank, has been giving information to the police. Don Salieri tasks Tommy with following Frank and finding out if his suspicions are correct. During his search for information, Tommy finds out that Frank has agreed to testify against Don Salieri in return for his family's protection. Tommy then discovers that Frank is scheduled to leave the country, so he makes his way to the airport to intercept him. Once Tommy catches up with Frank, he ends up deciding to let Frank and his family escape, meaning that he would have to lie to Salieri and say that Frank is dead so that he wouldn't follow him. Frank told Tommy that all the evidence he had collected against Salieri was at a bank vault, so Tommy goes and collects it so that he can get rid of it. The Salieri crime family hold a funeral for Frank and his family, and just after this we get our next trophy. In this chapter, Salieri tells Tommy to break into a man named Watkins' mansion, who is a dirty prosecutor, and he is working with Galati, the father of the mobster that we killed. After meeting up with a safecracker named Salvatore, Tommy and he make their way into Watkins' mansion and have to find a hidden safe. After finding the safe hidden behind a painting, Salvatore unlocks the safe and Tommy accidentally sets off the alarm. This brings a lot of enemies their way, so they have to fight their way out of the mansion to then escape. After fighting their way through the mansion, Tommy and Salvatore make their escape and Tommy has to drop Salvatore back to his house. This is when we get our next trophy. Chapter 12 begins with Polly telling Don Salieri how he believes that they can make more money. After explaining that he met a man in a gentleman's bar, that he can get his hands on a lot of alcohol, and he is willing to work with the Salieri crime family. Once Don Salieri was on board with the plan, Tommy, Polly and Sam head off to the parking lot to meet up with Mr. Gates. Whilst they're in the middle of the deal, everything seems to be going well, but then they get ambushed. After fighting their way through the parking lot, they make their way back to Don Salieri's warehouse and deliver the cargo. After a short cutscene, we get our next trophy. In chapter 13, Don Salieri's normal driver is out sick for the day, so he asks Tommy to drive him to his favourite restaurant. Things quickly take a turn for the worse when Don Morello sends his men to kill Don Salieri, shooting up the restaurant in the process.
Get down!
After fighting their way through the restaurant and making their escape, Don Salieri realizes that his driver was the only one to know he was going to the restaurant that day, meaning that he must have been set up. This leads Tommy and Salieri to go to his apartment.
Boss, why don't you let me go first, huh? Carlo might be waiting for us.
No, Tom, my face is going to be the first and last thing the bastard sees.
After Carlo tries to escape, Tommy chases him down and Salieri comes and kills him. At the end of this chapter, we get our introduction to Morello's brother Sergio. He will be a main focus of one of the chapters in the future, but before that happens, we get our next trophy. In chapter 14, Tommy is tasked with assassinating Galati, the politician whose son we killed in an earlier chapter. Because Galati works with Don Morello, Don Salieri knows that he would never turn his back on him, so instead we have to kill him. Tommy makes his way down to the docks where he has to get a sailor's outfit to sneak onto the ship. Galati will be making a speech on the ship that night, so that's where we're going to kill him.
You think he's gonna pull this off?
Sure as shit gonna kill Galati. Getting off that boat? Well, he's gonna need a guardian angel.
After retrieving the gun from the ship's toilet, we make our way up to the vantage point where we're going to kill Galati. After listening to Galati's speech, we take aim, wait for the fireworks to go off, and then we shoot him. After the assassination, Tommy has to fight his way through the ship and get off onto a boat driven by Polly and Sam. I died a lot during this process, so I'm only going to show you the part where I actually completed it. Of course, this is also where we got our next trophy for completing the chapter. During our attempt to take down Morello and his gang, we go after our next target, which is Sergio, Morello's brother. After our first attempt to kill Sergio fails, we plant a bomb under his car. This bomb is set to detonate whenever he turns the key. Unfortunately for us, this does not go to plan as Sergio does not get into the car. Instead, his mistress does, and she ends up getting killed. After Tommy is told that Sergio has been spotted across town, he makes his way over there with Sam and Polly to kill him. Of course, with how Sergio's luck has been going so far, he manages to get away and Tommy, Sam and Polly chase him down.
Get me out of here! Motherfucker! Oh, he's gone! Go get him, Tommy!
After chasing Sergio around the city on our motorcycle, we end up making our way to this harbour. But of course Sergio decides to take a run for it again, so we have to fight our way through the harbour and all of the armed men to get to Sergio. Fighting my way through all of these enemies on the way to find Sergio was an absolute horror show. I had so many failed attempts, but I finally got there in the end, and it seemed like Sergio's luck has actually run out. We got the kill that we were looking for.
No!
After we assassinated Sergio, Don Morello went into hiding, but eventually he popped his head out and we found out he would be at the theatre and that this may be our only chance to assassinate him. We arrived at the theatre right on time to see Don Morello walking outside and getting into his car. Unfortunately, his car was bulletproof, so he managed to get away from us, but we chased him down and we ended up catching up with him. When we eventually caught up with Morello, he was in his private plane getting ready to take off. Of course, we couldn't let this happen, so we chased after him and shot the plane down. After chasing the plane and shooting it down from the sky, we ended up going to check the crash site to see if Morello was actually dead. Of course he wasn't, so Tommy finished the job. After a short cutscene, I ended up getting myself another trophy. At this point the game jumps ahead 3 years. After the demise of the Morello crime family, the Salieri crime family is practically running Lost Haven. Unfortunately, at this point, a new politician is coming up and he decides that he's going to take down organised crime. Of course, this is a problem for Don Salieri as it goes against all of his plans to take over the city. So, of course, he has the idea to send Tommy to the old prison with a sniper rifle and to assassinate the politician. After the assassination, we have to fight our way through the prison to make our escape. Tommy heads home to his wife, and this is where we get ourselves our next trophy. In this next chapter, Don Salieri sends Tommy, Sam and Polly off to steal a shipment of cigars that has hidden diamonds. After sneaking through the customs warehouse and stealing the cigars, we head back to Don Salieri's warehouse. Once we get back to Salieri's warehouse, we check on the shipment and we actually discover that it's not diamonds at all. It's drugs. Tommy and Polly are very upset when they find out that it's drugs. Polly starts talking to Tommy about wanting to get out of the Salieri crime family. He then clues Tommy in on his plan to rob a bank. Tommy and Polly then head home on the subway, and this is when we get ourselves our next trophy. In this next chapter, Tommy and Polly head to the bank to rob the place. After making their way down to the bank vault, Tommy and Polly take as much money as they can, but of course the cops arrive, so they have to fight their way out of the bank. After they make their escape with all of the money, Tommy and Polly decide to meet up at Polly's apartment in the morning to split the cash. It's at this point that we get ourselves our next trophy for completing this chapter. In chapter 20, Tommy heads over to Polly's apartment to split the cash with him. When he arrives at Polly's apartment, he notices that the door is open, so he goes inside only to find that Polly has been murdered. Just after Tommy finds Polly's body, the phone rings and he answers, and it's Sam. Sam warns Tommy that Salieri found out about the bank heist, so he has ordered for Tommy and Polly to be killed. Tommy very quickly realizes that he needs to get out of town because he's in danger, so he asks Sam if he can help him to get his daughter and his wife to safety. Of course, Sam says yes, so Tommy asks him to meet up with him at the city gallery. When Tommy arrives at the city gallery, he discovers that Sam is the one that killed Polly, and he's out to kill Tommy as well. Of course, this erupts into a gunfight between Tommy and Sam. After fighting our way through all of Sam's henchmen, chasing him through the gallery, we end up catching up with him. When we finally catch up to Sam, he decides that he's going to try and talk his way out of this. Of course, that does not go well for him.
We sure had some laughs, right? Remember that time? Me, you, and Polly.
With that being the end of the chapter, and of course the end of the game, we get ourselves another trophy here for completing the game on classic difficulty. Another one for completing the chapter, and then another trophy for completing the game on easy, medium or hard difficulty. Once the game is complete, we get this cutscene where we catch up with Tommy a few years later. After Tommy ratted out Don Salieri to the cops, Don Salieri finally got his payback by sending Vito to take out Tommy.
That's okay. You're safe now.
So with that being the end of the story, I went back and got all of the collectibles that I didn't have already, as well as the miscellaneous trophies. I started off by getting this trophy for lockpicking 5 cars. I then got this trophy for finding a hidden car. And then of course I got this one for finding all of the hidden cars. Sticking with the theme of cars, I got this trophy for having 15 cars in my garage. After that, I of course got this trophy for having 30 vehicles in my garage. Mafia has some pretty fun trophies, so I decided to go for this one, which is for holding a wheelie for 3 seconds. I then went for this trophy for reaching 50 miles per hour while driving the Bolt Ace. This is the slowest car in the game, so it was actually kind of a challenge. After being pulled over for speeding, I ended up getting this trophy for paying a fine to the Lost Haven Police Department. After having a quick look through the trophies that I still needed, I decided to go for this one, which is for resisting arrest. Sticking with the theme of cops, I got myself this trophy for escaping after a 5-star police chase. Once I started going for the collectibles, I got this trophy for finding the first mystery fox. I spent a long time searching the entirety of the city and the surrounds, but finally I got this trophy for finding all 50 foxes. With very few trophies left to get in this video, I went for these 3 trophies for collecting my first Gangsters Monthly magazine, this one for finding my first Gangsters of the United States cigarette card, and then of course I got this one for finding the first pulp magazine. After running around the map for a very long time, I got this trophy for collecting all of the Gangsters of the United States cigarette cards. Sometime after that, I got this trophy for finding all pulp magazines. At this point of the video, this is where I should be saying I got my trophies for the Dime Detective magazines, as well as all the other collectibles and the Platinum trophy. But unfortunately, my game had different ideas. It decided to crash and do this. I hope this didn't delete all my stuff. That would just be my luck. Oh, and it did. Complete the first chapter to unlock free ride. Oh, okay, whatever. How has this happened? So 20 hours into my platinum grind and the game decided to crash and delete everything. So I had the choice, do I replay the entire game again or do I just give up? After rage quitting my stream and not playing again for the rest of the evening, I decided to take some time to think about what I was going to do. Of course, I couldn't just give up, so after 40 hours of gameplay and replaying the entire game again, I was finally back at where I should have been. After searching the entirety of the map all over again and collecting every single collectible, I got back to this point and I got my final 2 trophies that earned me that beautiful platinum trophy. So with that being the end of the platinum grind, I have to say I did enjoy this game overall, but of course I would have enjoyed it even more if I didn't have to play it twice. I did get the therapeutic feeling though of deleting this game off my PlayStation and never playing it again. I would just like to take this time to thank everyone for watching this video and getting this far into the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.